All right, today we're cracking open the Smart Traveler's Playbook. We're going to go way beyond just packing lists and flight deals. We're diving into the environmental health risks that, let's be honest, we often forget about, but they can totally derail an incredible trip.
So, let me ask you this. When you think about getting sick on vacation, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Some kind of wild mosquito-borne disease? A rare jungle fever, maybe? We tend to worry about the really dramatic stuff, but the reality? It's usually a lot more common. That's right. For most of us travelers, the biggest health hurdles don't come from some exotic virus. They come from the very environment you're so pumped to explore. The altitude, the sun, the water, and yeah, the local critters. So let's break down how to handle all of that like a total pro.
First up, let's talk about the invisible risks, the stuff that's all around us. The atmosphere itself can throw some serious curveballs, especially when we're talking about altitude, heat, and sun exposure. Okay, if you're heading for the mountains, you absolutely need to know about acute mountain sickness, or AMS. It's basically your body's alarm system telling you, hey, I'm not getting enough oxygen because you came up here way too fast. That classic throbbing headache, that queasy feeling, the exhaustion, yep, that's AMS knocking on your door.
So, what's the magic number we should be thinking about? Well, according to the World Health Organization, AMS gets really common above 2,750 meters. To put that in perspective, that's about 9,000 feet. We're talking about the altitude of a ton of popular ski resorts and hiking spots, so this is something a lot of us really need to have on our radar.
The good news is you can often prevent it. The standard medical play is to use a medication called acetylamide. You start it a day before you head up and keep taking it for the first couple of days. But, and this is super important, it is not for everyone. You absolutely have to talk to your doctor about it first. No exceptions.
Now, higher altitude doesn't just mean thinner air, it also means a much, much stronger sun. Get this. For every 300 meters you climb, UV radiation gets about 5% stronger. There's just less atmosphere up there to filter out the sun's rays, which means you can get a really nasty burn way faster in the mountains than you would at sea level. And it really helps to know your enemy here. You've got two types of rays to worry about. Think of UVA rays as the aging rays. They're the ones that cause wrinkles and long-term damage. Then you've got UVB rays, which are the burning rays. They're the main cause of that painful sunburn and, much more seriously, skin cancer. You've got to protect yourself from both.
So here's your simple, super effective game plan. First, just try to stay out of the direct sun when it's at its peak, usually between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Cover up. Clothing is actually your best defense. For any skin that's left exposed, slather on a broad-spectrum sunscreen. And please, don't forget a hat and some good sunglasses for your face and eyes.
Okay, let's shift from the air around us to what we're putting in our bodies. I think we can all agree that one of the quickest ways to ruin a trip is getting sick from food or water. So let's talk about how to eat and drink safely.
This little chart here shows some really easy swaps you can make. The golden rule, the one you should just chant it to yourself, is this: boil it, cook it, peel it, or forget it. Steer clear of anything raw or undercooked. Stick to milk that's been boiled or pasteurized. And you really have to be careful with things like ice cream from a street cart or even using tap water to brush your teeth if you're not sure it's safe. Sealed drinks and hot, thoroughly cooked food are always going to be your best friends.
But what do you do when there's no bottled water around? Knowing how to make water safe to drink is, frankly, a critical skill for any traveler who plans on venturing even slightly off the beaten path.
So there's a definite pecking order when it comes to effectiveness. Boiling is the undisputed champion. A rolling boil for just 1 minute kills pretty much everything. If you can't boil, a good filter is your next best bet, but make sure it's rated to remove tiny things like protozoa. And finally, you have chemical disinfectants like iodine or chlorine tablets. They're good for killing bacteria and viruses, but they're best used with a filter if the water looks a little sketchy.
All right, our last section, let's talk about those memorable local encounters. From stray animals to buzzing insects, here is how you manage the risks from the local wildlife.
First on the list is rabies. Now, it's pretty rare for travelers, but it's basically 100% fatal if not treated. So any animal bite has to be taken seriously. It's usually spread by dogs, so here's the absolute most important thing to remember. If you are bitten or even just scratched by an animal, the first thing you do is immediately and thoroughly wash that wound with soap and water for a good 15 minutes. Then you get medical help right away. Now, venom is a whole different ballgame. This isn't an infection we're talking about, it's a poison. A bite or a sting from something venomous like a snake, a scorpion, a spider is always a medical emergency. Forget everything you've seen in the movies about cutting the wound or using a tourniquet. That stuff can actually make it worse. Your one and only job is to get to a hospital as fast as you possibly can. Of course, the best strategy is always prevention, right? Especially with mosquitoes, which can carry nasty stuff like malaria and dengue. So build your defense system, use a good insect repellent, sleep under a treated mosquito net if you're not in a sealed, air-conditioned room, cover up with long sleeves and pants, especially around dawn and dusk. And for some extra credit protection, you can even treat your clothes with an insecticide called permethrin. So we've tackled the air, the food, and the critters. Let's pull this all together into a simple, easy-to-remember toolkit that you can take with you on any adventure. Here it is, your Pro Traveler Toolkit. 5 simple rules. 1. Acclimation. Go up slowly. 2. Protect. Shield yourself from that sun. 3. Be cautious. Remember that mantra. Boil it, cook it, peel it, or forget it. 4. Purify. Make sure your water is safe. And 5, prevent. Do what you can to avoid those animal and insect bites. If you can keep these 5 principles in mind, you'll be set to handle these environmental risks like a seasoned pro. So now you've got a playbook for the tangible risks in your travel environment. But what about the threats you can't see, the specific viruses and bacteria out there? Well, that's a whole other story and a topic for another day. Until then, travel smart and stay healthy out there.